in my opinion, Lincoln Riley is going over to the second best conference in college football. UCLA and USC are here to join the Big Ten in 2024. Where are you at, Notre Dame? There is no excuse why Notre Dame should not join this conference now. Even though they are ridden in the ACC right now in every single sport except football.
Right.
And we all know what that is, but I think collectively all of us up here, outside of our rivals, I would even have to say I don't hate the Gators as much as I hate Notre Dame. to be completely honest with you,
You mean that?
yeah. But yeah, Don, let me get your thoughts on this first. Going into this situation, UCLA and USC going over to the Big Ten is obviously a huge thing, man. For the sport, and now we're really starting to see that traction of what we were talking about with like all the big conferences. Like this is just another domino after the Texas Oklahoma thing coming over, and we're starting to see all the graphics of all the realignments that could happen, and it's absolutely getting crazy out there, man. So what's your thoughts on this, and how much do you think it will impact? And geographically, it doesn't make sense, but it just is what it is. Like I said, now Notre Dame is almost forced to join this conference. All the rivals are there now.
Yeah, this is something that was pretty much expected to happen. The conferences are just going to get bigger and better. I mean, Big Ten was already pretty solid conference to begin with, and now this just ups them to another level. And yeah, I agree. Notre Dame's probably going to be the next one to follow. It's part of more money for the teams, more money for the schools, more money for the NILs. Everything is affecting this now. And you're going to have your super conferences, and somebody's going to get left out. But I like the move for competition basis geographically, like you said. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Teams are going to be traveling a lot. But
yeah.
But overall, I do like this.
Yeah, it's a move that is forcing the two best conferences in football now to compete against each other, regardless if we like it or not. We're looking at the AFC, NFC here soon. Rio, that's a great question. I'm gonna hold that one to the end, but that's a really good question because I think it's actually related to exactly what we're talking about. Sor, what was your thoughts on this when you heard both of them starting to join, man?
I mean, with everybody, geographically does not make any sense, but it's all about the money. I think it's a good move. I know everybody's now moving conferences, and I didn't even think about that till you mentioned it, but yeah, we're soon going to get NFC, AFC at this point. It's more teams, more competition. It'll still be a good division, especially adding UCLA and USC. Hopefully, Lincoln Riley doesn't run away from this transfer as well, though.
I'd almost think that this was almost directly related to Lincoln Riley being there, because I think his dominance is honestly going to reign with USC. I don't necessarily think it's going to be this year, and I know we'll get to that in our predictions about the Pac-12, but I mean, let's be honest here. If he does well, and if UFC does put their money where their mouth is with all the NIL stuff, and now they have the coaching staff there with all the good recruiting that they're going to do, and they got the great players there right now, there's no reason why this program shouldn't be dominant. And I know a lot of us had, USC being kind of one of the favorites in the Pac-12, but don't necessarily know if that's going to happen when they move over to the Big Ten. So, Coach, I know you're as big as a college guy as me, man. And I think, out of all four of us, I think probably me and you were mostly impacted by this decision for sure. And just on the speculation basis, what do you think that this means for the Big Ten and college football in general?
I mean, like everybody said, more money for everything for the programs and all that. But what excites me the most about this, you get to see more competition. You get to see USC go against Ohio State potentially, USC versus Michigan. You get to see just more competition. You just get to see more competition. Minnesota, Michigan State. You get to see all of that, man. I don't know if USC will be better than those teams. We don't know yet. But we know they're going to be probably competing for the Pac-12. They probably can either win it this year. But again, it's going to show Lincoln Riley as well, like Papa Sora said, if he don't run away from this. But like I say, USC is going. They're going to get some better. They're going to get some recruits coming in now. Lincoln Riley already stole a couple of 5-stars. Keller Williams from Oklahoma, and he also got Jordan Addison as well from Pittsburgh. So. Again, this more competition, and like we were talking about Notre Dame earlier. I think Notre Dame is very overrated. Every time they get into a college football playoff, they totally get outmatched and outcoached every single time, and it's almost seems like they don't really deserve to be in a college football playoff. But again, you consistently put them in there just to get dominated every single year by not being it makes me think they're scared to really get into a conference at this point. But again, I think it's more competition for more than anything. That's what excites me more. You're going to see a lot of competition in the Big Ten, so that's what excites me more about these two teams coming into the Big Ten. But Notre Dame, I want to see them get into a conference period. It don't necessarily have to be at the Big Ten, but get into a conference, get into one of these Power 5 conferences, and let's see what they can really actually do. But like I said, I think they're just an overrated football team. Every time they get in college football playoff, there's always a blowout. The game is never really close.
Right. Yeah, totally understood, man. Now let's get over to Rio's question. So with the news about the Pac-12, what team should be the conference to pursue to replace the USC and UCLA? I think I'll go first on this one. I think it's obviously the neighboring conference to them, which is the Mountain West. And we're going to talk about them a lot today. Not only do you have Boise State, who's been waiting for their chance to swoop in, and they've had some really up and down years, but they got some really good schools there. I mean, San Diego State has been a champion in that conference. I mean, there's a lot of competition that they can pull from those schools. I mean, if you want the Utah State rivalry to stay in conference, you have them just sitting right there. Everybody loves those rivalries, just state versus the Utah State versus Utah game. But now you have it in conference, making an impact to not only your divisional games, but I think that's the conference that you pull for. I don't think you necessarily do it for the competition side of it. You do it more, geographically what makes sense. Because I mean, let's be honest. USC and UCLA, if they do bad, that's a big trip to make for all those teams that have to play them. To go from California, most of those teams are in Ohio, so going from California to Ohio, like every single week, that jet lag and difference of just being in different time zone, like there's a lot of factors to consider there. These aren't pro guys, and to me. Yes, I think, in my opinion, Lincoln Riley is going over to the second best conference in college football. But
no, I'm on board with you. I agree. Mountain West.
I can't think of anybody.
Yeah,
I can't think of anybody either. I'm on board with everything. I'm on board with everything you said. You said it all pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the Mountain West is the way to go. So that's to answer your question. And if you've been watching the series on YouTube and Twitch of San Diego State, go Aztecs.
That's going to get mentioned a lot in the Mountain West.
Yeah.